Welcome to our analysis of a truly fascinating classic fable. Today, we're unpacking a story called The Wealth of a Noble Heart. And honestly, it's going to completely challenge our everyday definitions of success, value, and what we typically consider a good return on investment. Fables like this one, they've endured for generations because they act as this sort of psychological mirror. They reflect our deepest societal assumptions right back at us. And this specific narrative offers a profoundly sharp look at what it literally means to be rich.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to keep one fundamental question in the back of your mind as we explore the lives of our two central characters. Who is truly rich? I mean, it seems like a super simple question, right? With a very obvious, numbers-based answer. We're so conditioned to measure wealth by checking account balances, square footage, and stock portfolios. But as this text reveals, the actual metrics for genuine wealth might be entirely invisible to society, because sometimes the things that make us the most secure are the exact things you can't actually buy.
Section 1. Two different worlds. So on one side of this story, we've got an incredibly wealthy man. We're talking massive buildings, the most expensive cars, enormous influence, the whole shebang. But with all that immense wealth comes this blinding, insulating arrogance. The source text specifically points out that he frequently and purposefully ignores those less fortunate. Then, on the other side of the tracks, we meet a boy named Roy. Now, Roy lives in a tiny house and literally has absolutely no money to his name. But he possesses a completely different, and you could argue, much richer portfolio. Roy is relentlessly hardworking, deeply honest, constantly helpful to the people around him, and he's fueled by this burning dream to achieve success through his own sheer effort. And this brilliantly illustrates our core tension. We have a massive gap in material wealth, mirrored by an equally massive gap in moral grounding and just basic human empathy.
Section 2. The Roadblock.
Now picture this timeline. This is the classic inciting incident, where these two parallel lives suddenly and unexpectedly collide. Minute 1, that expensive, luxurious car breaks down right in the middle of a totally deserted road. Minute 15, the incredibly wealthy man finds himself entirely stranded. Despite all his money, all his status, his sprawling buildings, there is absolutely no one around to offer him any help. His isolation is just total. It's kind of like having a limitless platinum credit card in a complete cellular dead zone. All that hypothetical power means absolutely nothing when you're literally stuck in the mud. But then, minute 30, Roy arrives. And without a single second of hesitation, without calculating any sort of potential return on investment, Roy just jumps right in. He swiftly and selflessly fixes the car, ensuring the stranded man can leave safely. No greed, just immediate human action.
Section 3. The Beginning of Change.
Naturally, the wealthy man operates strictly on the logic of his own world, right? To him, everything has a price tag. So looking at the boy who just saved him hours of immense trouble, he asks the most obvious question to him. What do you want in return? Notice how perfectly this simple question captures that deeply transactional mindset. He fully expects to just write a quick check, hand over a wad of cash, square the emotional debt, and drive away completely unaffected. In his reality, human interaction is literally just another commercial exchange. He's expecting a standard transaction, definitely not a life-altering transformation.
But Roy's response shatters that transactional expectation completely. He simply smiles and says, "I do not want any reward. Helping someone is the biggest reward for me." These exact words form the absolute moral core of this entire story. To truly understand the psychological weight of this moment, we have to recognize that Roy isn't negotiating here. He is operating on a completely different currency of value. For him, the act of kindness is the payment itself. The intrinsic motivation of doing good generates its own satisfaction and purpose. And suddenly, the wealthy man is confronted with a type of wealth, this deep internal contentment that he simply doesn't possess, and more importantly, that he cannot buy.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because Roy's earnest, honest words hit the wealthy man like a ton of bricks. The text shows us that in that exact instant, he realizes his money wasn't real wealth at all. It was just paper. He realizes his life's accumulation hadn't earned him the one thing this young boy was giving away for free, which is genuine humanity. And look at the ripple effect of this single, selfless encounter. The rich man completely transforms his life. He stops hoarding his resources and actually starts actively funding the education of poor children. He begins working directly with and for needy people, shifting his entire fortune towards social welfare. A single act of unselfish help effectively rewired his whole understanding of what his resources were actually for.
Section 4. True Wealth.
The story beautifully tracks the aftermath of this encounter, showing us where our hardworking boy Roy eventually ends up. Years later,
Driven by that exact same hard work and unwavering honesty we saw on the side of the road, Roy becomes a highly successful businessman himself. But here's the real kicker. People didn't just respect him for the financial empire he built, they respected him for his excellent nature. So the crucial point is this entirely new definition of wealth. Wealth isn't defined solely by the money sitting in your bank account. True wealth is defined by possessing a good heart, an unshakable honesty, and a deeply ingrained spirit of helping others. Hard work and good deeds, the text insists, create a kind of compound interest of goodwill that brings the absolute greatest success a person can achieve.
Which brings us to a final question I want to leave you with today. Based on everything we've just unpacked from this powerful fable, how do you measure your own wealth and success? Seriously, if your car broke down today, which currency would you actually be relying on to get you through? Take a moment to reflect on your own intrinsic values, how you truly define being rich, and what kind of legacy you are building with the people around you right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this analysis, and I hope this sparks some deeply rewarding thoughts for you today.